Here's the English translation of your text, arranged naturally and coherently. Now, there was one more thing to do. Immediately capture Yeo Jae-in and hand him over to Kim Yoon-sung. No one else should know about this. Afterward, the school's social news broadcast began airing. Someone announced that Kim Yoon-sung and Bae Sung-ho had parted ways. Is that true? People whispered. Finally, we might have some peace for a while. But why did it happen? Apparently, Bae Sung-ho had stopped attending first-year classes. Word spread that from now on, anyone who badmouthed Kim Yoon-sung would no longer face consequences, as Bae Sung-ho wouldn't interfere or care anymore. Two students, washing their hands in the restroom, speculated that the two had argued or that Bae Sung-ho had taken his reward money and run. One of them remarked, "If I see Kim Yoon-sung, I might as well tie him up myself, but nah, let him go." Meanwhile, Kim Yoon-sung believed that he had successfully set the bait. His next plan was about to begin. All he had to do now was wait. In a private meeting led by Go Chang-suk, Go Chang-byo's younger brother, the attendees were asked to clearly state their positions. His older brother, Go Chang-byo, had just been promoted to CEO. At this rate, their father would hand over the chairman's position to Go Chang-byo. Are you all okay with that? Go Chang-suk exclaimed angrily. After all these years of hard work, you're just going to accept this? One of the team members forced a smile and responded. Although director Go Chang-byo won this opportunity, he still needs to prove his abilities to the company. But our head of department, Go Chang-suk, has already demonstrated his capabilities countless times. In this situation, head Go Chang-suk is bound to gain the chairman's recognition. Go Chang-suk was furious, especially after his affair had been discovered by his wife, causing even more personal turmoil. His standing within the company had taken a severe hit, and now everyone in the family was wondering what he had done to bring about such a result. The family knew they needed to tread carefully. Go Chang-suk had cheated, and now he needed to achieve something significant to restore his reputation. At that moment, the eldest man in the group spoke up. Go Chang-suk, don't you find it strange? An incompetent, foolish playboy like Go Chang-byo has always been like this. That's why we support you, Go Chang-suk. However, based on his recent performance, it seems like director Go Chang-byo has some powerful backing. The elder man continued. And that person is Kim Chul-jin, the internal director of Myeongjin Construction. Go Chang-suk asked him to explain further. He was then told that the scandal involving Go Chang-suk had been exposed, and the only one who benefited from the situation was director Go Chang-byo. Furthermore, during all the chaos, Go Chang-byo had started showing up to work every day, even handling a concrete accident that greatly pleased the chairman. Recalling that event, even Go Chang-suk hadn't expected their father, Go Myeongjin, to be so pleased. They decided to level everything and start rebuilding from the square, just like in the past. Could Go Chang-byo have come up with such a solution? Go Chang-suk thought. He was convinced that this was no coincidence. It had all been prearranged. Even though Go Chang-byo didn't fully understand what a concrete incident was, he still managed to solve the problem. There was definitely someone supporting him from behind the scenes. Everyone shared the same question. Who was backing Go Chang-byo? Faced with this mystery, they had to find out who was pulling the strings behind Go Chang-byo. They set up surveillance, tracking Go Chang-byo 24/7. From 6 a.m., he was seen visiting the construction site, inspecting the progress and ensuring safety. Then, he had lunch with the project manager and dinner at 8 p.m. with a friend at a barbecue restaurant, which was determined to be a regular spot. However, they still found no other leads. Go Chang-suk was enraged, blood rushing to his head, because the investigators had failed to uncover anything substantial. Everyone was buzzing, discussing whether or not they should investigate Judge Wang Jonggu. Some even brought up the topic of marrying her, but it wasn't the right time for that. According to reliable sources, Go Chang-suk's scandal was exposed. Judge Wang Jonggu clearly harbored a strong dislike for Go Chang-byo. Even Director Kong had no interest in the inheritance. His shrewd nature didn't match someone who would scheme in such matters. It was also mentioned that the son of Sungshin Construction had close ties with Go Chang-byo. However, the CEO of Sungshin Construction maintained a good relationship with Go Chang-suk, so he wouldn't jeopardize that by betting on a puppet. Suddenly, one member discovered a record of unusual transactions involving Go Chang-byo. It was a large investment in a high school gym, scholarships, and even a swimming pool. Everyone mocked him, saying Go Chang-byo was just throwing money away. 3 years ago, he also angered his father by helping a bar girl pay off her debts. One of them jeered. Go Chang-suk sternly ordered them. Enough gossip, don't concern yourselves with people who don't matter. With that, they let go of the money and the school. Just then, Go Chang-suk received a call. He declined it right away. What the hell? Do they think I'm free or something? Then, Go Chang-suk received a message that infuriated him. I am the assistant to director Go Chang-bio. I want to speak with you privately. Do you have time? Meanwhile, Kim Yun-sung also received a call from Go Chang-bio, who expressed concern. He suspected that someone was following him. Those bastards have been trailing me with cameras for the past week. We haven't heard yet, but we need to stay cautious. Go Chang-bio warned Kim Yun-sung. He told him to be careful, as Go Chang-suk might try to make contact with him. When Kim Yun-sung mentioned that Go Chang-bio was worried that Go Chang-suk would offer a higher price to bribe him, Kim Yun-sung gave a vague reply. Yeah, I know. But inside, the demon within Kim Yun-sung began to stir. He asked Go Chang-bio if he truly trusted him. Kim Yun-sung then demanded that Go Chang-bio give him a new phone and a fake identity. Back in Go Chang-suk's office, he was consulting with the internal director, Kim Kol-jin. After identifying the person backing Go Chang-bio, Kim Kol-jin laid out two options. If this person was capable enough to help Go Chang-bio secure the CEO position, they must be incredibly talented. Our plan now, he said, is to turn this person into an ally to oppose Go Chang-bio. But if they refused, they would need to be eliminated. Go Chang-bio immediately received instructions to go out and make contact with the mysterious individual. Hearing the voice, it sounded like they were disguising it. There was no doubt, this person was the mastermind pulling all the strings. And everything was proceeding just as he expected. Straightforward and blunt. Go Chang-suk went straight to the point. We want to recruit you. Go Chang-bio hasn't even graduated high school while I come from a prestigious university. Go Chang-bio spends his days drunk in bars, while I've been building experience at Myeongjin Construction. Who do you think is more suitable to be chairman? He confidently continued, in the end, my father will choose the one who can make the company thrive. When asked why he was so certain, Go Chang-suk quickly replied. Because that's how this company has always grown. My father would even trust an expert manager to run the company as long as they bring in profit. So the chances of Go Chang-bio being chosen as chairman are slim. You know that, right? That's why you reached out to me. Kim Yun-sung then presented a condition to Go Chang-suk, though it was not yet revealed. Go Chang-suk, prepared to agree to any demand from Kim Yun-sung, smugly boasted to his team members that the mysterious person helping Go Chang-bio had contacted him. According to this person, Go Chang-suk was more suited to be chairman than Go Chang-bio. The only thing the person requested was to become the internal director. Upon hearing this, Kim Chul-jin was furious. The internal director? You don't even know who that person is and yet you're handing such an important position to them? He reminded Go Chang-suk to be cautious. But Go Chang-suk, irked by the criticism, furrowed his brow in anger. Who gave you the right to question my decisions? When Go Chang-bio was promoted, what did you do? I've managed to recruit a valuable asset. Giving up the internal director position is nothing. Don't focus on one tree and forget about the entire forest. However, the situation wasn't as simple as Go Chang-suk thought. Myeongjin Construction was an old company with deep-rooted traditions. Go Chang-bio, being the eldest son, was the natural successor. But more importantly, management positions at Myeongjin were reserved for those who had served the company for at least 25 years. The times have changed. Go Chang-suk muttered. I'm not expecting 25 years of experience, but the person at least needs to be loyal to the company and recognized by everyone. At this, Go Chang-suk ordered Kim Kol-jin to be quiet and end the discussion. To him, Kim Chul-jin was just an outdated old man. Tradition? What's the point of tradition? Once I become chairman, a lot of things around here will change. Enough talk, Go Chang-suk concluded. I've already made my decision. All of you here just need to work hard. Focus on your tasks and I'll make sure that once I'm chairman, you will be rewarded accordingly. Hearing these words, Kim Kol-jin was livid, on the verge of exploding with frustration. After that, the meeting ended. Everyone left with a heavy heart. Only Kim Chul-jin sighed, fully understanding why things had turned out this way. He knew well that Go Chang-suk was arrogant, liked to curse, and even disloyal. Go Chang-suk was not suitable for the chairman's position. If Go Chang-suk wasn't the chairman's son, he absolutely wouldn't have supported him. Yet, he still chose to help Go Chang-suk because he was still better than Go Chang-bio, who had no interest in the Myeongjin Construction Corporation. Kim Chul-jin was forced to choose Go Chang-suk because he always strived to grow the company. However, if the traditions were disregarded, cracks would eventually appear. In the end, Go Chang-suk was not the right choice either. For the sake of the company and for those who had dedicated their lives to it, he decided to meet the chairman. Suddenly, he received a call. Before he could understand what was happening, he heard a voice. "What do you think of team leader Go Chang-suk's decision? Do you like it?" Kim Chul-jin was startled and asked, "Who are you? Are you provoking me?" The mysterious voice continued. "I have no interest in that director position. I just wanted to show you the difference between team leader Go Chang-suk and director Go Chang-bio." Kim Chul-jin still seemed doubtful. The voice continued. "Myeongjin Construction is a company with a long tradition. In other companies, anyone could be a director. But for those who truly understand the chairman's wishes and Myeongjin's future, not just anyone can sit in that position. In fact, as an internal director of Myeongjin, you must feel proud, right?" Kim Chul-jin wanted to know what the mysterious person wanted. He straightforwardly said, "The issue is, you should support Go Chang-bio. He's no longer the same bastard as before." "Are you asking me to betray Go Chang-suk?" "No, that's not betrayal. I'm just expressing my desire to walk alongside you toward the bright future of Myeongjin Corporation." A few days later, Kim Chul-jin arranged a meeting with director Go Chang-bio. After much careful thought, he asked Go Chang-bio, "Who's the person backing you?" Go Chang-bio suddenly became flustered. He couldn't reveal the identity of that mysterious person, only hoping that Kim Chul-jin would understand him. Kim Chul-jin recalled past memories, reminding Go Chang-bio of them. Back when Go Chang-bio was still very young, he used to go to construction sites with the chairman. At that time, the projects weren't as big as they are now. Just small family projects. Go Chang-bio, then just 3 or 4 years old, house, used his tiny hands to help carry bricks. He looked so happy at that time. I even worried he might get hurt. Seeing him lose his baby teeth back then was truly amusing. Witnessing Go Chang-bio grow up under the care of Chairman Kim Chul-jin brought him peace of mind. Truthfully speaking, the chairman had high hopes for his eldest son, Go Chang-bio. However, as Go Chang-bio grew older, he became deeply disappointed. On numerous occasions, he had to represent the chairman at school, where he was informed about Go Chang-bio's fights with classmates. At that time, the Myeongjin group was rapidly expanding, but Go Chang-bio was constantly getting into trouble, indulging in alcohol and causing all sorts of problems. Thus, Kim Chul-jin believed that Go Chang-bio was not fit to inherit the chairmanship. If any family member were to take over, he would rather choose Go Chang-suk, who at least consistently worked hard to earn recognition. Upon hearing these words, Go Chang-bio's eyes filled with tears. Why would his father think that way? After all, Kim Chul-jin was merely a director who had dedicated his entire life to the Myeongjin group, just as the chairman had put his heart and soul into it. I can't hand it over to someone who can't even take care of themselves, he thought. Now, as Kim Chul-jin watched Go Chang-bio change day by day, he didn't care who had helped him. As long as Go Chang-bio could bring success to the company, that was all that mattered. He no longer dug deeper into who was supporting him behind the scenes. Thus, Director Gong Chang-bio of Myeongjin Construction was someone the group urgently needed. They were eager to cooperate with him in the future. Kim Chul-jin bowed his head, accepting Go Chang-bio and, at the same time, pleading for him to inherit the company. Outside of Mrs. Baekhyun's restaurant, 2 children were buying 2 set meals. Inside, another table was paying for their food. "Please give us some extra side dishes," they requested. 2 servings of rice for these 2 tables. Mrs. Baekhyun, now elderly, was serving food. Seeing her frailty, the children approached her and asked with concern, "Grandma, please don't overwork yourself. Take it slow. You must be exhausted at your age." It's all right," she replied, forcing herself to work despite her fatigue, trying to earn enough money to pay for her grandchild's tuition. Suddenly, as she was busy, her phone rang. It was the real estate company calling. They informed Mrs. Baekhyun that she had won the lottery for a Nobishire apartment contract. "If you agree to transfer the rights to me before selling, I will pay you an additional 5,000 in fees," the caller said. That evening, the grandmother and grandchild shared a bowl of noodles together. "Grandma, were you working at the restaurant again today? But with the money I gave you and your pension, you don't need to work anymore." "But that's your scholarship money, my bright student." Now, eat up. Kim Yoon-sung suddenly asked, is everything still okay? He was puzzled as to how those real estate agents discovered the situation and kept calling her. Today alone, she had received over 10 calls, all full of nonsense. One party was offering 5,000, and the other raised it to 6,000. Ever since the last concrete casting event, the value of Myung-jin's brand had skyrocketed. Moreover, the Nobishi apartment complex is a luxury residence located in a prime area of Daesan. Just renting it out would be enough to cover the purchase costs. How could such a valuable property only be worth 6,000? Mrs. Baek Young-ok found it strange and wondered if it was a scam. Though she felt a bit reluctant, she was still considering selling if it were genuine. Kim Yoon-sung kept advising her, Grandma, do you think they're calling because it's in someone else's interest? No matter what, don't sell. But just the deposit alone requires 200 million won. Where am I supposed to get that kind of money? She replied, thanks to you, I managed to secure the right to reserve it before the sale began. She added, still unsure. But Kim Yoon-sung was adamant that she shouldn't sell. I already have that amount, he thought. The money was sitting in a bank account under someone else's name that Go Chang Bom had given him, but he couldn't tell her that. This apartment is a home for the three of us. I will never give it up, he reassured her. Nowadays, it's easy to get loans and pay off debts, he comforted her. Plus, we can always rent out the apartment. I've already told you I know real estate well, haven't I, Grandma? Don't worry. They laughed together, and she felt proud of having such a grandson. Since when did you grow up so much? My life has been dedicated to watching over my beloved grandchildren. You need to stay healthy so you can keep watching over us for a long time, okay? Leave the rest to me, he said. Suddenly, Kim Yoon-sung's phone rang. Grandma, I'll be right back after I take this call. It was Yoon-jin's teacher from his extra classes, informing Kim Yoon-sung that Yoon-jin hadn't attended class. They wondered if something had happened at home. Yoon-jin had skipped school to work part-time and was now getting ready to head home. He wanted to stay a bit longer, but he knew he should go home according to his schedule. On his way back, he stumbled upon three boys playing rock-paper-scissors near his house, arguing loudly. Curious, Yoon-jin approached. You guys did that on purpose, didn't you? Why am I always the one throwing rock? How could that happen? Stop pretending to be clueless, one of them shouted. Even though Yoon-jin felt a bit envious of how carefree they were, with no big worries on their minds, he reminded himself that he needed to focus on his studies and succeed. He could waste time on these trivial games anymore. The boy wanted to prove that he could do it on his own, without needing to attend extra classes. After all, his grandmother was still working hard at home. At that moment, Kim Yoon-sung arrived. The two brothers walked side by side. Yoon-jin was surprised to realize that it was his older brother. They agreed to meet at a corner of the park to talk. Kim Yoon-sung, having just returned from Yoon-jin's extra classes, heard that his younger brother had skipped school. Yoon-jin apologized to his older brother for not telling him about skipping class. Yoon-sung, do you know? I've grown up now. I understand everything, Yoon-jin said. It hurts me so much to see your face and hands full of wounds every day. I don't know what kind of job you're doing, but how could I use the hard-earned money you make to pay for my education? If only one of us can go to school, I think you should be the one. Your grades are better than mine. Hearing his younger brother's words, Kim Yoon-sung was both surprised and filled with sorrow. It had been 5 years since Kim Yoon-sung had become a vegetative patient. Yoon-jin had made up his mind to become a police officer. Perhaps to seek revenge on the person who caused Kim Yoon-sung's condition. However, Yoon-jin had to manage the hospital bills for his brother and grandmother, as well as dedicate all his time to studying. In the end, he couldn't pass the exam. Ultimately, it was his family that stood in the way of Yoon-jin's education. The hardships his family endured eventually led them to fall into despair. But now, Kim Yoon-sung was determined not to let such things happen again, because this time he had been given a second chance at life. No misfortune related to his family could occur anymore. He showed his younger brother the lottery message, notifying them of a valuable apartment prize. I haven't told you yet, but we've won an apartment. Do you know Jeongang District? It's the wealthiest area in Daesan. Yoon-jin was astonished. How is that possible? How could we win something like that? Isn't there a mistake? We don't even have money. Kim Yoon-sung assured him, nothing is impossible. At that moment, a voice came from behind them. It was Go Chang Bio, who had come looking for Kim Yoon-sung. Puffing out his chest proudly, Go Chang Bio introduced himself to Yoon-jin. I'm Go Chang Bio, the son of the Myung-jin conglomerate. I'm the one supporting your brother. If you don't believe me, you can search for my name online, but you might not find anything good. To reassure Yoon-jin so he could focus on his studies, Go Chang-bio promised to support Kim Yoon-sung through a scholarship. This money will be enough for both you and Kim Yoon-sung to cover your tuition fees, so feel free to spend it however you want. Got it? Afterward, Kim Yoon-sung let Yoon-jin go inside the house while he stayed behind to talk with Go Chang-bio. Thank you. I know this request is a bit much, especially since it's already late. Late? So what? It's no big deal. I take care of my people, unlike that bastard Chang-sik. Kim Yoon-sung needed information on those 3 people. Go Chang-bio had already acquired it and handed it over to him. Of course, Go Chang-bio asked. Now that Kim Kol-jin has joined our side, what's the next step? Kim Yoon-sung immediately brought up a previous piece of land, the Junggu real estate in Sunjae. He told Go Chang-bio to build connections with the real estate brokers there. When the land goes on sale, they should inform Kim Yoon-sung immediately. A few days later, a shocking piece of news spread around the school. The students were buzzing about Kim Yoon-sung scoring a perfect score on the 11th mock exam and ranking first nationwide. The test had been incredibly difficult, with sky-high cutoff scores. Kim Yoon-sung shone like a bright star, dazzling everyone. Reporters gathered outside, asking about Kim Yoon-sung's secret to improving his grades and how many extra classes he had taken. Standing behind the reporters was Principal Dae-hwan, clapping in congratulations. In reality, everything behind the scenes had been orchestrated by Principal Dae-hwan, with Kim Yoon-sung playing alone. If he wanted to play this game, Kim Yoon-sung was ready. Facing the reporters, Kim Yoon-sung made a statement. My teachers are all excellent, so I studied hard at school. I didn't attend any extra classes. Kim Yoon-sung knew that someone was watching the clients of Hong Kim-vin. Among the many reporters, there was also his homeroom teacher, Kim Hong-chung, who enthusiastically clapped in support. In the background, hidden in the shadows, a smile appeared, admiring the protagonist's brilliance. Choi Tae-jun was reporting the results to his uncle at Hong Kim-bin. By now, Choi Tae-jun had become Kim Yoon-sung's loyal dog. All the false information had been crafted by Kim Yoon-sung, and Choi Tae-jun only had to follow Kim Yoon-sung's orders. Choi Tae-jun assumed that the situation was similar to before. Kim Yoon-sung and Bae Sung-ho weren't getting along, and they hadn't spoken to each other recently. Because of that, Choi Tae-jun believed he could corner Kim Yoon-sung. However, Mr. Tae-jun mentioned that he needed more time. 1 month was too short for him. As for his uncle at Hong Kim-vin, he demanded clear evidence. Without it, who would believe them? They needed proof to show the plan's effectiveness. As vague promises wouldn't work. Every day, he received countless calls, and his reputation was on the line. He gave Choi Tae-jun one final chance. Hearing this, Choi Tae-jun was terrified. Before the holidays, he had to make sure the clients were satisfied, no matter if it meant breaking arms or causing chaos. Do you understand? The order was given. A while later, Choi Tae-jun arrived at the agreed location, sweating profusely, nervously looking around. Kim Yoon-sung had been hiding in a corner, waiting for quite some time. Choi Tae-jun apologized for being late, explaining that he was afraid of being followed, so he had taken a few detours. Choi Tae-jun then shared with Kim Yoon-sung everything he had learned from meeting the real estate brokers. However, Kim Yoon-sung expressed his feelings about realizing that he had become a target of Hong Kim-vin. Ever since he was injured in the ribs and beaten mercilessly, Kim Yoon-sung had constantly been thinking about what he had done wrong. Why hasn't any adult taken responsibility? But what bothers me the most is, who is the bastard that hired you? Kim Yoon-sung was desperate to uncover who had hired Choi Tae-jun to carry out these actions. I've thought about it 100,000 times and listed the people who fit the profile. First, Kim Yoon-sung thought of Yeo Jin-young. Her family was extremely wealthy, and although she was introverted, she was gradually climbing the ranks, so maybe he had upset her. The second person was Lee Jin-hong. Earlier in the semester, Kim Yoon-sung had fought with him and won. After that, Kim Yoon-sung was ostracized, and Lee Jin-hong, who was insecure and cowardly like a rat, held a grudge. His father owned thousands of hectares of land. Lastly, there was Choi Shona-cha, a high-ranking government official. At the start of the semester, she ranked higher than Kim Yoon-sung, but he had since surpassed her in the following exams. Considering the existence and purpose of Hong Kim-vin, these 3 people fit the bill. Kim Yoon-sung had used Choi Tae-jun and Yeo Jae-in to set a trap. After hearing what Choi Tae-jun had revealed today, Kim Yoon-sung had finally pinpointed one individual. Kim Yoon-sung emphasized to Choi Tae-jun that from tomorrow onward, he and Hong Kim-vin would go their separate ways. The next day, the school held a sports day. The boys were playing soccer while the girls were playing dodgeball. Mr. Kim Si-chun was set to present the awards to the winning teams. Kim Yun-sung skillfully maneuvered through two friends and delivered a powerful shot that sent the ball flying into the net, leaving the goalkeeper frozen in place. The ball hit the back of the net, showcasing the sheer strength of Kim Yun-sung's kick. His teammates were ecstatic, cheering. "Wow, Kim Yun-sung. Thank you for helping us win the award." The two defenders from the opposing team stared at Kim Yun-sung in fear, amazed by how he had overcome everyone in his path and scored so effortlessly. Outside the soccer field, two female students were watching the match. One of them was Choi Shona, and next to her was Yoo Hee-ji, chatting with her close friend. "Why don't you date him?" Hee-ji asked. "Me? Are you serious?" "Yeah, he's cool." "If it were the old model student Kim Yun-sung." "Maybe," Choi Shona replied. "But now, dating someone like him would only drag me into the same kind of mess he's been involved in before." However, Choi Shona decided to set aside her worries and take the initiative, thinking that the other side had provoked her first. Yoo Hee-ji was shocked by her bold choice. "You're really going to confess to him? You seriously want to do this?" After the match, Choi Shona invited Kim Yun-sung for a drink. He gave her a teasing smile and suggested they go somewhere else to talk. "I have something I want to say to you," he said. 15 minutes later, Hee-ji was left holding her phone, her eyes filled with tears. It was almost time for class, yet both of them had disappeared. What could they be talking about? She wondered. Suddenly, Hee-ji's phone buzzed with a message from Choi Shona, asking her to meet in the location, feeling a little anxious. It was the storage room in the gymnasium. As Choi Shona stood there, she thought, why did he bring me here? But she quickly brushed aside any negative thoughts. Believing that Kim Yun-sung was a good person. Kim Yun-sung closed the door and approached her, saying, "I've been in a lot of trouble recently." "Do you know why?" Choi Shona replied, "Is it because those kids were picking fights with you?" "Yes, that's true. But there's something else, something no one knows. Someone ordered them to do it. There's a mastermind behind all of this." Choi Shona felt a bit confused by his words. Kim Yun-sung explained further, "So I set a trap. I leaked some information to the three people I suspect. I had Lee Jin spread the word that I was struggling and planning to transfer schools. The mastermind would be thrilled if I actually transferred. So, if one of the suspects is behind this, they'd be happy." He continued, "Then I told another suspect that I was having major conflicts with Baek Si-ho. If they were the mastermind, they'd be angry and would act immediately." Choi Shona was even more perplexed by Kim Yun-sung's explanations. He reassured her, in the end, one of them revealed their true feelings. The mastermind will pressure the others to do whatever it takes to get revenge. But the interesting thing is, my spy among the students actually saw the reaction of one of the three suspects. What do you think about that, Choi Shona? Upon hearing this, Choi Shona started feeling a bit scared. Just then, Hee-ji burst through the door, calling out Choi Shona's name twice. She rushed over and grabbed Shona's hand. "What are you doing? Where is Kim Yun-sung?" Suddenly, Kim Yun-sung appeared behind Hee-ji, telling Choi Shona to leave. Terrified, Hee-ji trembled, and sure enough, Choi Shona bolted out like the wind without saying a word, leaving Hee-ji behind. In desperation, Hee-ji called out her name, but it was too late. At that moment, Kim Yun-sung locked the door, leaving Hee-ji behind. There are many details that suggest Choi Shona might be the client, but there's one reason that proves she can't be. As he spoke, he pressed the lock. Hee-ji, still clueless about what was happening, began to feel terrified by Kim Yun-sung's words. "What's going on? Are you trying to scare me?" Hee-ji asked, her voice trembling. Kim Yun-sung had asked Go Chang-bio to investigate the background of the three suspects to find the exact answer to this question. In doing so, he discovered a secret about Choi Shona that no one knew. "Do you know why Choi Shona transferred from Seoul to Daesun?" Kim Yun-sung asked Hee-ji. Her older brother was bullied at school and did something terrible. That's why her parents moved her to Daesun. But why would a family like that do such a thing just because of Shona's grades? No way. I know better than anyone. What do you mean? Hee-ji asked. Kim Yun-sung continued. Choi Shona told me she didn't care who orchestrated the bullying. She hated the person who came up with the idea. Because her brother couldn't stand up for himself, she was happy that I could. That means there's only one possibility. Shona heard what Lee Jae-jin said and told someone else. Suddenly, Kim Yun-sung hugged Hee-ji, making it seem like he liked her, but that wasn't the case. His eyes were cold and menacing as he uttered, "It was you, you traitor." Hee-ji was so terrified that she wet herself. Frightened by Kim Yoon-sung's madness. She tried to run, stammering, "What are you talking about? I don't know why you're suspecting me, but it's not me." Desperate to open the door, she shouted, "It's not her." But after multiple failed attempts to unlock the door, Hee-ji decided to face reality and talk to Kim Yoon-sung directly. "Think about our relationship. We're good friends. Why would I do something like that to you? It must have been Shona who hired them. She's always complained about how your grades keep improving. I heard her say that. Please, don't do this to me. Choi Shona's parents resigned a long time ago. Now they're active members of the Anti-School Violence Association." Hee-ji continued. Kim Yoon-sung was shocked. Choi Shona's parents did something like that? Hee-ji insisted, her parents did. You know her father is a high-ranking police officer. You also know the people at Hong Kim Vin have connections with people like them. The truth had been clear from the start, and until now, Kim Yoon-sung had never mentioned Hong Kim Vin in front of Hee-ji. Yet, she had brought it up herself. Realizing her slip-up, Hee-ji accepted the reality that she had to confront her friend. Damn it, this is all your fault. If you weren't so cold, none of this would have happened. Hee-ji shouted. A few months ago, when Hee-ji first saw Kim Yoon-sung walk into class, she thought he looked incredibly handsome. She fell for him almost immediately. He had a pleasant appearance, a tall figure, a charming personality, and he excelled in both academics and sports. A perfect person in Hee-ji's eyes. She admired Yoon-sung for these qualities, but the problem was, Hee-ji wasn't the only one who felt this way. Many other girls also admired Yoon-sung. Hee-ji had heard numerous stories of girls confessing their feelings to him, only to be rejected. Although Hee-ji was very popular herself, she was still afraid of rejection. So, instead of blindly confessing her feelings, she decided to start small, like inviting him for a drink, discussing school-related matters with him, and even staging accidental encounters to grow closer. Hee-ji believed that Kim Yoon-sung wasn't avoiding the matter and was directly facing the situation. Which, in her mind, was a green light for her to proceed. She asked about his ideal type through a friend, and this became the deciding factor. When she found out that Yoon-sung had never thought about dating and his ideal type was someone lively and energetic, quite the opposite of her, she was crushed. But despite her certainty, Hee-ji decided to go forward. She planned to give him a gift and write a letter on the day she confessed. "Yoon-sung, would you like to go out with me?" she had asked. For the first time in her life, she was rejected so bluntly. Her heart shattered into pieces. Coming from a wealthy family, Hee-ji had never been denied anything. She had always been special. This first rejection left her feeling hopeless, and her heart filled with boiling hatred. When Kim Yoon-sung heard Hee-ji's story, he couldn't help but laugh. "So, you hired Hong Kim Vin to get revenge on me?" Through tears, Hee-ji painfully admitted, "You said I was your ideal type. You showed interest, but in the end, you didn't like me at all. After that, I felt like I was living in hell, while you were thriving. You became more popular, your grades kept improving, and I felt terrible. I was the only one suffering. I never imagined things would get so messy. I just wanted you to feel as hopeless as I did, that's all. I won't do it again, I promise. Please, forgive me this time, Hong." Kim Yoon-sung didn't know what to say. He gave a strained smile, unable to believe the craziness of what he had just heard. His expression turned dark and calculating as all his emotions toward Hee-ji faded. "The reason I rejected you wasn't because I didn't like you," he finally said. "I probably told you that back then. But the truth is, I wasn't rich enough to date you. That day, you came with snacks and gifts, as if we were nothing to each other. But I couldn't act like that. Even if I did like you, I had no choice but to reject you." Hee-ji grabbed Yoon-sung's hand, her emotions overwhelming her. "Yoon-sung, you should have been honest with me. If you had told me the truth, I wouldn't have gone this far. Let's go back to how things were before. It's not too late." Yoon-sung grabbed Hee-ji's head, causing her unbearable pain. "I will destroy you, your family, your happiness, everything." Smack, he slapped her hard across the face. "You'll never understand why I've gone this far," he snarled, hitting her again. "It's because I spent 15 years living in hell, being tortured and turned into a vegetable. Misery struck my family, and now, none of that will ever happen again. But the real issue is that I tried to stop it all. How dare you call yourselves human when I had to live in hell while you stood by and did nothing?" Blood covered Yoon-sung's face, but he didn't care. "Whether this happens or not, people like you will never change. You should start looking for a place to get plastic surgery done. Fix your face first before coming after mine. At that moment, Kim Eng-chun burst through the door, shouting, "What the hell is going on? You're hitting girls now?" Yun-sung turned to his homeroom teacher and said, "She's the one, Hee-ji. She's the one who hired Hoang Kim Veen." The teacher stood there, shocked by Yun-sung's words. He had never considered it. Could she really be the one behind it all? As he processed the information, he realized that if she had truly hired them, she would need to face the consequences for her actions. Kim Eng-chun closed his eyes, trying to think of how to handle this situation. But then he remembered, Hee-ji's parents wouldn't let this go easily. Her father held considerable power in Daesan, and this situation was much more complicated than anything before. Yun-sung calmly said, "Don't worry about this, sir. Just take Hee-ji home." In the end, Hee-ji returned home. When her father, Oh Jun-sam, saw her face covered in blood, he screamed in fury. "What kind of maniac did this to my daughter? Do they want to die?" Oh Jun-sam, seething with anger, was Hee-ji's father, and he was ready to take action. Her mother urged him, "Are you really going to let the one who did this to our daughter get away with it? Are you crazy?" Oh Jun-sam swore revenge. He vowed to make sure Kim Yun-sung, Kim Eng-chun, and Go Chang-bia would all rot in prison for what they had done to his daughter. Before this, how dare they reveal their identities with such a foolish move? Dong Chin-soo, the bastard. The number you've dialed is currently busy. Please try again later, the automated voice said. When the other line finally picked up, the man asked, "Is this Dong Chin-soo, the broker from Hong Kim Vin in Seoul?" After several attempts to reach him, Dong Chin-soo finally answered. Of course, by then, he was already on the receiving end of a furious rant from Oh Jun-sam. "How do you plan to fix this mess?" Oh Jun-sam yelled. "At first, you said you'd handle everything. You even made me believe in your undefeated record." "Undefeated my ass." Oh Chun-sam cursed violently. "Believe me or not, I'll make sure you never lift your head again. Speak up. I want the people from Hong Kim Vin gone. Can you even stay alive?" But the response from Dong Chin-soo was cold. "Do whatever you want." "I'm sorry, Oh Chun-sam, but from now on, we're parting ways." Dong Chin-soo seemed to have escaped this insane situation. He sneered and ended the call. After all, Hong Kim Vin had always been undefeated until now. Now, he had become the first one to mess up. He knew his days were numbered, but still, two people working together with only one to take the fall didn't seem fair. So, Dong Chin-soo turned over all the evidence of his collusion with Oh Chun-sam to Kim Yun-sung. "Don't think I'm bluffing. Don't be naive. That line of thinking will lead to your miserable downfall," he warned. "I've already prepared myself with an escape route." Oh Chun-sam, enraged, continued his tirade, "You dog, you madman, you bastard. If I die, don't think you'll survive either." He demanded the police arrest Dong Chin-soo and called for the destruction of everyone connected to Hong Kim Vin. But Dong Chin-soo had already outwitted him, leaving Oh Chun-sam seething and powerless. There was no way Chin-soo would ever produce evidence that would bring down his boss. "You're dreaming, you crazy fool," Dong Chin-soo thought. He thought. From now on, everything was in Oh Chun-sam's hands. Dong Chin-soo would no longer intervene. 222, the call was cut off. Oh Chun-sam, still fuming, cursed under his breath. How dare he hang up on me so blatantly? Suddenly, another call came in. It was a visitor standing at his door. What time is it now? Who could be calling at this hour? He grumbled. Meanwhile, after the risky call with Oh Chun-sam, Dong Chin-soo felt the immense pressure weigh on him. He lit a cigarette to calm himself down. "Let Oh Chun-sam deal with it," he muttered, letting the smoke drift away. A call came in. It was Kim Yun-sung. He asked, "Are you Dong Chin-soo, the broker from Hong Kim Vin in Seoul?" "Oh, Hee-ji has already gone home. You might win some rounds and keep playing, but once a client's identity is exposed, winning or losing no longer matters." Dong Chin-soo was confused. How did Kim Yun-sung know that Oh Hee-ji was the client, and how did he even get his phone number? It was absurd. At that moment, it dawned on him, his nephew, Choi Tae-jun, had betrayed him. This meant that right now, the biggest threat to the existence of Hong Kim Vin was none other than Dong Chin-soo himself. Now, Hong Kim Vin had only one thing left to do. Eliminate every threat. Not just Oh Chun-sam, but Chin-soo as well, because dead men tell no tales. Dong Chin-soo grew enraged at Kim Yun-sung's cryptic words. "What do you mean by that, you bastard? Do you still want to live or not? I'm asking you, do you want to keep living?" Yoon Sung taunted. If anyone asks, just report to your boss that you've handled everything smoothly. I brought you here to walk the path I've laid out. You've settled everything, clients are satisfied. And Choi Tae-jun has completed his task. Help him return to Seoul. If I say that, the clients won't be happy, right? But who cares? Are you really going to waste your time worrying about the nonsense now? Later, Kim Yoon-sung arrived at Oh Jun-sam's house. Seeing him, Oh Jun-sam was furious. Do you even know where you are? How dare you barge in here? Calmly, Kim Yoon-sung sat down, even inviting Oh Jun-sam to join him. Oh Jun-sam ordered him to stand up or leave immediately. But Yoon-sung coldly told him, shut up and sit down. He gave Oh Jun-sam two choices. You can either seek revenge on me, but if you do, you'll need to call the police and have Hong Kim-vin deal with this. If you do that, I'll release all the evidence that Dong Chin-se gave me to the entire world. Sure, Hong Kim-vin won't disappear, but both you and Dong Chin-se will be finished. Yoon-sung smirked. The interesting part is that you'll end up in prison for at least 3 years. Oh Hee-ji will only have to go to juvenile detention for a few months. But think about this. What happens when Oh Hee-ji gets out of detention? With no great father like you to protect her, do you think she'll be safe? Oh Hee-ji and her mother clung to each other, trembling in fear, while Oh Jun-sam was cornered, seething with rage. Are you threatening me? Do you think you can get away with this? At that moment, Kim Yoon-sung said. Threatening me won't solve anything because my backing is Go Chang-bio. Of course. I'll have Go Chang-bio break Oh Hee-ji's legs and gouge out both of your daughter's eyes. Do you think I can't do it? Ask your daughter. Hearing this, Oh Hee-ji's eyes welled with tears, and her mother urged her to stay calm. Suddenly, Yoon-sung presented the second option, leaving Oh Chun-sam in shock. He could hear the sinister breathing of the devil before him. The devil that was telling him to break his own daughter's legs so she could never harm anyone again. After saying this, Yoon-sung turned and left. Oh Hee-ji screamed furiously, cursing at Yoon-sung, calling him a liar. Oh Chun-sam's wife urged her husband to call the police, but the door slammed shut, and Kim Yoon-sung was already gone. Oh Chun-sam sat there, his mind in chaos. The only option left in front of him was the knife. Because everything the devil, Kim Yoon-sung, had said was true. Despite his wife's frantic cries, honey, don't do this. She's our daughter. Have you gone mad? Why are you holding that knife? If this gets exposed, you'll go to prison. But if he did end up in prison, how would he handle Miul Jin and Go Chang-bio? His career, his future. Everything would be destroyed. Without him, everything would. Their beloved he. G. Indeed, the old saying was true. A child's wrongdoing is often the fault of the mother. Oh Hee-ji started trembling at her father's strange words. He held the knife, seemingly having made a decision. As he raised the knife, Oh Hee-ji panicked and tried to escape, running toward the door. But she couldn't make it. Oh Chun-sam grabbed his daughter, knife in hand, as she screamed for help. Meanwhile, a conversation took place between Ing Chin-soo and Kim Yoon-sung. They were discussing the situation with Oh Hee-ji. Even if Oh Chun-sam chooses the second option, you're not planning to stop here, are you? Ing Chin-soo asked. Yoon-sung replied, of course not. I'll slowly push him into a corner, exposing every illegal activity his company has been involved in. When he's completely cornered, I will release all the documents that Dong Chin-soo provided for the whole world to see, Kim Yoon-sung said. If he breaks his daughter's legs, I'll report him to the police for domestic abuse. Kim Yoon-sung said, and Oh Hee-ji will be left a broken wreck. Teachers and friends will mock her. What puzzled Dong Chin-soo the most was how Kim Yoon-sung planned to expose Oh Chun-sam's illegal activities. What worried him the most was that sooner or later, someone would figure out that Dong Chin-soo was stalling for time by lying. At that moment, Kim Yoon-sung proposed a deal. Dong Chin-soo would become his loyal dog. You're not dumb enough to hand me those documents for no reason, right? Kim Yoon-sung said, you risked a lot by doing this because you're trying to secure a way out for yourself. You know you're just a pawn in Hong Kim-vin. Be honest. Haven't you wanted to betray them for a long time? You're only staying because of the money, and that's why you're willing to become a loyal dog. Kim Yoon-sung offered him a way out, saying he could work for him and make money while avoiding punishment. Hearing this, Dong Chin-soo couldn't help but find it a bit amusing. He realized that this student had incredible audacity, thinking he could act so boldly just because he had the backing of Miao Jin. But no matter how cornered he felt, Dong Chin-soo wasn't foolish enough to risk his life by becoming an informant. It would be like selling his soul. He admitted that Kim Yun-sung's observations were spot on. Deng Chin-soo had joined Hong Kim-vin to climb to the top of the country's power structure because Hong Kim-vin had the influence to help him reach that goal. I allowed you to take control of the situation because I feared Hong Kim-vin. But now you're asking me to be your loyal dog? Based on what? Your reputation with Miao Jin. That's ridiculous, Deng Chin-soo scoffed. Suddenly, a sharp voice echoed, startling Deng Chin-soo. Let me tell you something else, Kim Yun-sung continued. In 2 years, you'll be in charge of managing the high-ranking members within Hong Kim-vin, becoming part of the Hong Kim line. That's the result of the stratified society Hong Kim-vin operates in, with many layers of power. The top politicians, tycoons, and businessmen in Hong Kim-vin are considered high-ranking members. Each high-ranking member has their own elite intermediaries, and the higher their rank, the higher the rewards for those intermediaries. And intermediaries for the high-ranking members are high-ranking themselves. Deng Chin-soo was stunned. The things Kim Yun-sung was saying weren't common knowledge. How did Yun-sung even know this? His understanding of the inner workings of Hong Kim-vin was terrifying. In Deng Chin-soo's mind, the conflicting ideas of survival and his ideals played out. He hesitated, should he side with Kim Yun-sung or remain loyal to Hong Kim-vin? Either way, if Hong Kim-vin found out about his betrayal, the cost would be his life. But if, in 2 years, he could leave Korea without regret, and if Kim Yun-sung could indeed defeat Hong Kim-vin, it would be a perfect scenario, 2 goals accomplished with 1 move. A perfect plan, indeed. At this point, Deng Chin-soo decided to consult with the devil, Kim Yun-sung. Yun-sung hoped that Deng Chin-soo would stay quiet and lay low for just 1 month. By the end of the month, he would have exactly what he wanted. Hong Kim-vin, the Hong Kim line, and the high-ranking members. Deng Chin-soo couldn't help but wonder, how does Kim Yun-sung know all of this? He would find out later because Kim Yun-sung had once been in a vegetative state, overhearing news about these matters on TV. About secret societies, riots in schools, and the brewing storm surrounding Hong Kim-vin. Hong Kim-vin was causing a stir, because no one could have imagined it had ties to political and business elites. They were top-tier figures, enjoying special privileges. Yet, the case known as the Hong Kim Gate had closed without revealing the identities of any high-ranking members. To truly defeat Hong Kim-vin, it wasn't just about money. It was about dismantling the corrupt network of power and influence. It wouldn't collapse easily. Now was the time for Kim Yun-sung to take the next step in his plan. A piece of paper was handed to a man. On it, instructions were written on how to clear his suspicions. The man was Senator Kim Pan-ho, a member of the Prosperity Party. He had called Kim Yun-sung, intending to remind this kid not to mess around with fabricated issues for fun. But Kim Yun-sung was different. He could see right through this politician's facade. It was laughable. Kim Yun-sung wanted to convince Senator Kim to hear him out. I know this might sound ridiculous, but I hope you'll consider my opinion before making any decisions. After all, I'd like to make a deal with you. During his time as a professor, Senator Kim had built his network by mentoring the children of powerful figures. Thanks to their support, he rose to become the senator he was today. When the trivial matters he thought the public would forget began to fade, suddenly everything was exposed once again. His rival senator, Yang Hao-en, had unexpectedly revealed Kim Pan-ho's corrupt and bureaucratic dealings. Kim Yun-sung had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Now, Kim Pan-ho needed his help. Why was Yang Hao-en making these accusations? He had no personal vendetta against Kim Pan-ho, nor did he stand to gain politically from attacking him. There must be someone behind this, Kim Yun-sung thought. Someone like Senator Yang Min-ji-yu, the leader of the Prosperity Party. Kim Pan-ho found Kim Yun-sung's words dangerous. If what he said was true, his life could be at risk. And of course, Yun-sung knew that. He was certain this was a plot orchestrated by Yang Min-ji-yu. Kim Pan-ho quickly realized that someone wanted to bring him down, a senator whose influence was growing stronger. Though the senator had been famous from the beginning, attacking a member of the same party would cause significant trouble and was hard to avoid. That's why they used Senator Yang Hao-en as a pawn. Being targeted by a member of the opposition would appear more reasonable. And since Yang Hao-en had revealed no weaknesses, a counterattack seemed impossible. At this point, Kim Pan-ho started considering the young man in front of him more seriously. The boy's words were insightful and forward-thinking. But if that was all, Kim Pan-ho felt like his time was being wasted. He hoped Yun-sung would offer a solution. Without hesitation, Yun-sung responded. Confident and even boastful. There's no explanation more perfect than the one about these elite officials' children mysteriously achieving top grades in their classes. So, no matter what the opposition thought, people will gossip. There's only one way to resolve this. If you can't attack the core of the issue, attack the person's character and motives. Yoon Sung continued. Sooner or later, someone will expose the fact that certain foreign students are using drugs. But among them, only a few have their identities protected. Coincidentally, the son of Senator Yang Hoen is also studying abroad. Kim Pan-ho burst out laughing. I don't know what you're talking about. Yoon Sung went on, well, drug use is inevitably make its way into the headlines. So, if you play your cards right, you can distance yourself from the scandal. And toppling one pawn is enough for you to clear any suspicion. As you know, in politics, once an accusation is dismissed, it's very difficult to restore it. Deal with it once, and it won't stain your career. This will be enough to end the issue in your political career. I have many more plans that could help you, Senator Kim. Whenever you feel I've earned your trust, give me a call. I'll be waiting for your response. A few days later, even Senator Yang Hoen didn't know that his eldest son had been using drugs regularly. How did a high school student like Kim Yoon Sung know this? All thanks to Go Chang-bio, who had numerous connections and support from Miaojin Construction. As a top student with considerable influence, Go Chang-bio had caused a lot of trouble at school, but it was this influence that allowed Kim Yoon Sung to gather such information. At this point, Kim Pan-ho admired Yoon Sung's boldness. He said the senator was intrigued by the young man's plan. But before he could speak, Yoon Sung posed a question. Senator, are you aiming for the presidential election by any chance? Of course, I'm just speculating, Yoon Sung added, as if uncertain. This comment made Kim Pan-ho break out in a cold sweat. The kid had hit the nail on the head. However, if Kim Pan-ho's ambitions were truly as Yoon Sung suspected, his chances were slim. He didn't have the right background. Look at his life story. It was full of captivating. Born into an elite family, he lived a privileged life, attended prestigious schools for the upper class, became a professor as naturally as one could, and was even handed a senator's badge, a symbol of his status. He enjoyed a life that 99% of the population could never dream of. That's precisely why he would fail in the presidential election. He had too much already, and in his past life, he had failed. For this very reason, Kim Pan-ho twisted his mouth and asked Yoon Sung, "Are you trying to make me give up?" But Yoon Sung knew this man wasn't the type to give up so easily. At this point, Kim Yoon Sung wanted to tell him that he would be his advisor, the one controlling his political appointments. Meanwhile, at school, rumors about Oh Hee-ji dropping out spread like wildfire. Gossip-loving students whispered the news everywhere. A few days earlier, someone had seen Hee-ji being taken to the hospital. She was so badly injured she couldn't walk and had to be admitted. Yoon Sung felt pleased because Oh Chun-ji to cut his daughter's tendons, like an idiot. He had no other way to protect Hee-ji. It made sense to Yoon Sung. Once people are emotionally driven, impulsive actions follow, making rational thinking almost impossible, just like how Yoon Sung had been in his previous life. He reflected, never imagining he could escape the fate of his former life. Even so, Yoon Sung knew he had to assign someone to watch over Hee-ji. Now, all that remained was the man obsessed with the presidential election, Kim Pan-ho. The senator had accepted Yoon Sung's proposal. Miaojin Construction would handle the finances. As you know, laundering money in the construction industry is a minor thing. Additionally, we will create a story for you. A perfect presidential campaign story, one that will earn you admiration and respect, making people see you in a new light. Kim Pan-ho was astonished by such an opportunity. Yoon Sung elaborated, once Hong Kim-vin becomes a social issue, if you can swiftly resolve it, you will become a rising star overnight, without bearing any risks. Yoon Sung would serve the meal, he would prepare everything carefully. Once the bait was taken, Yoon Sung would turn the situation into a sashimi dish, meticulously slicing everything to perfection. If anything went wrong, Yoon Sung would be the one to clean up the mess. All Kim Pan-ho had to do was follow his instructions and provide the necessary support when called upon. I'll give you time. In the meantime, you should investigate me more thoroughly. I'm not just a 17-year-old high school student. I'm also the second son of the chairman of Miaojin Construction, the one Go Chang-suk has been searching for relentlessly, and the advisor behind Go Chang-bio. As Yoon Sung returned home with those thoughts, he realized that if Kim Pan-ho refused his offer, he would have to resort to Plan B. Eliminating Kim Pan-ho, the one who knew his true identity, and finding a new dark horse to back. Who knew if another formidable opponent would emerge? In the worst-case scenario, Kim Pan-ho might join forces with Hong Kim-vin. Yoon Sung hoped things wouldn't escalate to that level. Suddenly, a voice called out to him. A chubby man urged him to get into the car while he still had a chance, before things got less polite. It was two of Kim Panho's bodyguards. Kim Panho admitted that Yoon Sung's plans were not something an ordinary 17-year-old could devise. Overthrowing Hong Kim Vin, what was the significance of that? Unlike what Yoon Sung thought, Kim Panho had actually investigated Hong Kim Vin. What puzzled him was why Yoon Sung, who hadn't previously been a victim of Hong Kim Vin, was so determined to destroy it. With a stern face and a cold, fierce voice, Yoon Sung asked, "Have you ever experienced the helplessness of facing senseless cruelty, the kind that is boundless? People like Kim Panho, with power, could resist such forces. But Hong Kim Vin had never targeted people like him. They preyed on the poor, the powerless, those who couldn't fight back, and those who couldn't afford to drop out of school. For those victims, losing the opportunity for education meant the end of their future. They couldn't rely on teachers or adults for help because anyone connected to Hong Kim Vin knew they'd be attacked even after school." The bullying continued, leaving the victims with no choice but to suffer in silence, trapped in hell. Kim Yoon Sung wanted to break this vicious cycle, to end school violence. While violence might always be a part of humanity, Yoon Sung was determined to destroy Hong Kim Vin at all costs, to obliterate the organization profiting from such acts. Finally, Kim Panho understood. He told Yoon Sung to lay out his plan, and he would reconsider. Hong Kim Vin had been able to maintain its influence among the elites thanks to its absolute secrecy and undefeated record. Yoon Sung planned to involve an intermediary and have him submit a false report, making it seem as though the assigned task had been completed successfully. This would entangle Hong Kim Vin in a scandal for manipulating outcomes and deceiving clients, eventually leading to their downfall. By the time Yoon Sung reached 12th grade, as the final exams approached, he planned to transfer to Gangnam, Seoul, to maintain his position as the top student in the country. In a place like Gangnam, where academic scores were paramount, if the nation's top student transferred there and Hong Kim Vin couldn't silence Yoon Sung, the truth would be exposed. Kim Panho realized that such exposure would be a catastrophic disaster for Hong Kim Vin. Yoon Sung said that space inside the school was limited and external interference was minimal, so he could endure the pressure during this process. All he needed was for Kim Panho to support him enough to keep him from being expelled. The longer Yoon Sung stayed in school, the more trouble Hong Kim Vin would face. Hearing Yoon Sung's speech, Kim Panho was pleased. He became confident that Yoon Sung would succeed. He resolved to do whatever Yoon Sung needed, no matter the cost. "It seems we are the same kind of people," he said, opening up more to Yoon Sung. He explained why he wanted to become president. "I don't have any special reason to become president," Kim Panho confessed. "I just want to see how far my abilities can take me. It's funny because I know so many people who want to become president. They all have their unique backgrounds. It's not impossible. So, I want to try too. In my life, I've never experienced failure. I passed Seoul National University, became a professor, and even earned the badge of a member of parliament. But why can't I be the leader of this country, standing above all others?" However, Kim Panho gave Yoon Sung a stern warning. "But remember this, Yoon Sung, if you fail even once, I won't hesitate to discard you. If that happens, I'll no longer help you, and I'll destroy all evidence. If you think you can handle all these problems, then today, I'll accept your proposal." The next day, Choi Shona asked to meet Yoon Sung in a secluded corner of the school. He was busy with his training and didn't have time, but Choi Shona, smiling brightly, invited him to sit for a while with her friend. She quickly brought up Oh Hee-ji, who hadn't returned to school since that day. People were saying she had been taken to the hospital, and Shona assumed it was because of Yoon Sung. Shona wanted Yoon Sung to be honest with her. She promised she wouldn't tell anyone and expressed her desire to join him in punishing evil. Her older brother had once been a victim of school violence, killed by people like Hee-ji. She despised people like Hee-ji, selfish individuals who only cared about themselves. Yoon Sung was confused by Shona's offer to help. In his previous life, he had no particular memories of this friend. Now, he was seeing the real Choi Shona, a twisted soul hidden behind her outward persona. Her family was full of high-ranking officials, and her father was the chairman of the School Violence Prevention Committee. This could work in Yoon Sung's favor. Yoon Sung asked, "How far can you go?" With a loud voice, Shona responded, "I can do anything." Yoon Sung spun the pen in his hand and asked Choi Shona, "Are you willing to gouge out the eyes of the bastard who killed your brother? When I wanted to break someone's arm, I was prepared for my own bones to break. When I wanted to kill someone, I was ready to be killed myself. With such shallow resolve, what can you do for me? Don't call me again to talk about nonsense like this. You're just getting in my way." Yoon Sung walked away, leaving Choi Shona stunned. On this path, there was no place for ordinary people like her. Yes, what I did was the right thing, he thought to himself. Just then, a friend approached from behind, putting his arm around Yun-sung's shoulder and suggesting they head to the martial arts gym together. But Yun-sung knew it wasn't a good idea to involve this friend. They were just casual friends, and it was better to stay away from Seoul. One person going to hell, Yun-sung, was enough. Yun-sung had to make sure that his mentor, the CEO, would be fine without him. The CEO pointed ahead, saying, "That guy is coming for you again, Yun-sung. He's here." Once again, the head of Miraculous Academy, Zubi Emasak, had come to recruit Yun-sung. "I promise, this will be the last time. Do you have time to talk?" At this point, the number of academies trying to recruit Kim Yun-sung was rising rapidly. The obsession to turn Miraculous Academy into a prestigious school in Daejeon had driven Zubi Sak to great lengths. He had gone to the media, boasting about Yun-sung's perfect score on the practice exam, but that only attracted attention, making the academy seem like a mid-tier school in Daejeon. Back to Zubi Emasak's offer, "Our academy will grant a scholarship of 3 million won per month. If both Yun-sung and Yun-jin enroll, I will support them until graduation." This was the same offer Yun-sung had refused before. Yet today, Zubi Sak returned with genuine intent, asking, "Please cooperate with me. I want your reputation." Miraculous Academy had plans to expand beyond Daejeon, even to Seoul. "If people know that Yun-sung enrolled in Miraculous Academy, we could become the best academy in Seoul," he explained. What Zubi Emasak needed was the prestige Yun-sung could bring. "You don't even need to officially enroll. Just let the rumor spread that you're considering it," he said. "More importantly," he added, "if you achieve a perfect score in the final exam, I'll give you a 100 million won scholarship." Yun-sung's value had reached this level. However, for Kim Yun-sung, if it weren't for his desire for revenge, he might have agreed to this deal. A life like that wouldn't be so bad, Yun-sung thought, but in the end, he still refused. Walking past Zubi Emasak, he replied, "I like things this way, no reason to change." The next day, on his way home, a woman stopped Yun-sung. She was Lee So, the manager of a parent cafe in the Daejeon district. She briefly introduced her cafe. It was a space where families in the area exchanged information about schools. This time, the topic of discussion was about Yun-sung, and she wanted to collaborate with him. She proposed that the parents in the Daejeon district wanted to hire Yun-sung as a tutor for their children and siblings of the cafe members, including her own child. "The pay is 2 million won per session, 4 sessions a month," she explained. "I'm not expecting you to stay up all night teaching in Seoul. There are plenty of certified teachers here who can handle that. We're hoping you can share your academic experience at school. You could even open classes in Daejeon. If you have any requests, we'll do our best to meet them." Yun-sung promised her he would go home and think about it since he had never encountered such unique type of cafe before. Later that evening, Yun-sung returned home and began investigating further. He gathered more information about these types of parent networks and private academies. He asked, "Can you tell me about some famous private schools? I heard the Star Instructor Academy has relocated. I also heard about a middle school teacher who recently excelled in a trial exam." He explored more, discovering a hidden paid community where only members with 10 million won fee could access certain resources. "Does anyone know who's the top scorer at school number 10? I've heard he's thinking of enrolling in Star Instructor Oh Soo-young's secret class. You can find him near the office at around 12 o'clock. Some students complained that Oh Soo-young was pressuring them for not attending his lessons. In his previous life, when Hong Kimbin collapsed, Yun-sung had learned that the most influential people weren't the general public or politicians, but the parents who were extremely sensitive to their children's futures. These parents weren't furious about the crimes committed by Hong Kimbin. They were angry because they thought their own children were losing out to others. Changing this kind of behavior was nearly impossible. In the end, Yun-sung accepted Lee Nisa's offer. When the wealthy children were brought to him for tutoring, they were furious the moment they stepped out of the car, cursing and complaining. "Why did we have to come to Daejeon? What are we even doing here?" Kang Minwo, a 17-year-old, led the group in mocking Yun-sung. "You're just a poor loser who can't even live in Gangnam. A bookworm who's only good for warming a chair." The rich students lashed out at their parents, saying if it weren't for their allowance being cut off or having their phones taken away, they would never have come to this place. After discussing among themselves, the group of rich kids unanimously decided to skip the tutoring session. They were overjoyed at the thought. "If we all skip together, what's the point of even attending? We'll just get a new tutor. Besides, who wants to see that loser again? If we skip, what can he do? I'll just go have some fun. It's been boring lately, and coming all the way to Daejeon is a total waste of time. Then let's not study today, let's just hang out." Yoon-sung was waiting for each of them to arrive at the tutoring session, but in the meantime, he received a call from Dong Chinsu. Chinsu expressed his gratitude, saying that thanks to Yoon-sung's help, he had recently had dinner with the CEO of the Future Investment and Security Fund, Lim Kol-hung. Kim Pan-ho had followed Yoon-sung's advice. Lim Kol-hung's eldest son would be attending high school next year, and for that, he needed Hong Kim-bin's help. This was an opportunity to enter the upper echelons of society. Dong Chinsu was reminded of Yoon-sung's advice. Once you're in the upper tier, make sure to share important information with me. Never push a client too far, exploit them, but always leave them some room to breathe. Remember, if you forget your place, you'll die. As Dong Chinsu infiltrated deeper into Hong Kim-bin, Yoon-sung would finally know who the true culprits were. Even if things became difficult, Yoon-sung was determined to break into Hong Kim-bin and get involved in the stories he had once only heard about. Despite his fragmented memories, Yoon-sung felt the danger increasing with each step forward. Checking his watch, Yoon-sung noticed the kids were still late. In reality, they were in a karaoke room, having the time of their lives, dancing and singing. Suddenly, their tutor appeared in the doorway. Thinking it was a mistake, they tried to shoo him away to continue their fun. But as the footsteps got closer, the tutor asked, "Are you Kong Min-woo?" The moment Kong Min-woo heard his name, he was punched hard, sending him to the ground. It was Kim Yoon-sung. He calmly introduced himself as their tutor and demanded they stand up and greet him properly. Furious of being punched, Kong Min-woo yelled back, "Do you even know who my father is? Just one phone call, and my dad will ruin your life." Yoon-sung, unfazed, replied, "Go ahead, call your mom too, if you want." Hearing this, Min-woo's face paled with fear. No tutor had ever hit him like this before. He realized the man in front of him was none other than Kim Yoon-sung, the top-ranked student in the country. Min-woo had thought Yoon-sung was just a loser. How could this be happening? How could he dare hit him? In a panic, Min-woo grabbed his phone and actually called his mother. "Mom, my friends and I are stuck out here in Daejeon. The roads are far, and we're really tired. Can we skip tutoring today?" But when Kong Min-woo called his mother, he was scolded harshly. "Are you crazy?" his mother yelled. "What did I tell you before? I told you this was the last time. Are you even thinking clearly? I let you have a tutor for a reason, and you dare skip the session on the very first day? When will you ever act responsibly?" Kim Yoon-sung grabbed the phone and put it on speaker. He calmly addressed Min-woo's parents, saying, "I specifically reminded him to be on time." Before accepting the tutoring job for these kids, Kim Yoon-sung had made everything clear from the start. Min-woo's mother quickly apologized, "Yoon-sung, I'm truly sorry this time. Please forgive us. I promise this won't happen again. I've already discussed it with all the parents, and no one will interfere anymore. All the other parents agree as well, so you don't have to worry." This was why Kim Yoon-sung had hit the kids, because even their parents wouldn't intervene. Yoon-sung then gave them a choice. Do you want to learn, or do you want to keep getting hit? Hearing this, the group of rich kids grew even angrier. They couldn't believe that someone their own age was managing them more strictly than their own parents. Kong Min-woo, still fuming, muttered, "This guy is making such a big deal out of everything. He said we'd only have a 1-hour lesson today, but the driver isn't even here yet." Min-woo quickly called Shin Umi, a girl in their group, telling her to contact anyone in Daejeon, even someone she was dating, to come and intervene. "I need payback for this. I'm Kong Min-woo, and no one has ever hit me in my life." Shin Umi, after hearing his plea, picked up her phone to call someone who claimed to be a gangster in Daejeon. "Are you sure? Your mom won't like this," she warned. "Do you think this is the first time I've caused trouble? Blood is thicker than water." "I'm proud of it," Min-woo bragged, grinning. "I'll make that call." Seeing how things were shaping up, Kong Min-woo felt certain that he couldn't lose this fight. That arrogant Kim Yoon-sung would pay dearly. Meanwhile, Shin Umi dialed her phone. Using a sweet tone to introduce herself. "Hi, it's Shin Umi. Long time no see. Do you remember me? I want to talk to you for a bit." 2 days later, she called her ex-boyfriend, Park Jin-woo. When Jin-woo heard what happened, he arrogantly asked, "Who is this kid? He hit Min-woo just because they were late for class?" "Yeah," she replied. "The lesson starts in 2 hours. He said he had to work out first." Confident in his abilities, Jin-woo scoffed, thinking it would be easy to handle the situation. Shin Umi, however, reminded him that Yoon-sung was very strong. Together, Jin-woo and his ex-girlfriend headed to the gym where Yoon-sung frequently trained. At first, Park Jin-woo confidently walked through the gym doors, ready to challenge the high school student. He even told the trainer, if that kid wins, I'll reconsider. But as Jinwoo entered the gym and saw someone drenched in sweat, he was relieved to realize this wasn't the person the girl had wanted revenge on. She even complimented the good-looking CEO working out. However, Jinwoo soon realized that the person standing in front of him was none other than Kim Yoon-sung. His friend pointed at Yoon-sung and threatened to beat him into a pulp. Seeing someone familiar, Yoon-sung politely greeted Jinwoo. At that moment, Jinwoo turned and bolted out of the gym without saying a word. His friend chased after him, but Jinwoo had already disappeared, running for his life. Jinwoo gritted his teeth, thinking it was better to endure humiliation from his underlings than to melt like ice cream under Yoon-sung's fists. Once outside and still running, Jinwoo felt relieved he had escaped unharmed. The girl grabbed his arm, but he shook her off, saying, "Is Kim Yoon-sung really your tutor? I told you he was going to beat your friends. If it's Kim Yoon-sung, shut up and don't talk nonsense anymore. Focus on your studies." Jinwoo was now advising her to take the righteous path. "Unless you want to get beaten. Just pretend I'm dead. Remember this. Listen to Kim Yoon-sung, or you'll regret it." After giving her that warning, Jinwoo left, emphasizing to his friend how serious the situation was. With that, the group of kids finally began focusing on their studies. Though Kang Minwoo still couldn't concentrate due to his lingering frustration. Yoon-sung understood that coming to Daesun 3 times a week was exhausting. But he reminded them, if we don't put in the effort and your grades drop, these expensive tutoring sessions will be meaningless. Your future will only get worse if you keep slacking off. You've wasted half your life playing around. Accept reality. If you do well on the final exams, I'll suggest reducing the number of weekly sessions. If I can convince your parents not to make you attend as many lessons, will you trust me and follow my lead? I guarantee this year's college entrance exams will get you into a 4-year university in Seoul. Would you rather be crammed with tutoring all week, or just study with me once a week and spend the rest of the time studying on your own? 2 weeks later, there was a noticeable improvement in the kids' academic performance. Kang Minwoo's scores in all subjects increased by 2 points. And the other kids saw gains of over a point each. While the results weren't perfect, they were enough to satisfy their parents, who requested Yoon-sung continue tutoring them. Yoon-sung was pleased with the positive feedback and officially announced that each student would only have 1 session per week moving forward. He would receive 10 million and won in monthly compensation. And if their progress continued to exceed expectations, he would receive additional bonuses. Yoon-sung wasn't interested in the money. What he really cared about was what the woman's husband did for a living. She reassured him, telling him not to worry, before leaving with her designer handbag. As she walked away, she emphasized, "My husband? Don't worry about it." Despite their insane use of wealth and power to educate their children, Kang Minwoo's parents refused to associate with Hong Kim-vin because Kang Young-cheon, Minwoo's father, was the deputy chief prosecutor at the Seoul District Prosecutor's Office. Winter break arrived in the blink of an eye. Teacher Kim Hee-chun announced the holiday and reminded the students that the difference between first-year and second-year students lies in how they spend their vacation. "The way you use this break will determine your future," he said. Afterward, he asked Yoon-sung to stay behind for a private conversation. He expressed special concern for Yoon-sung's health and academic progress, offering his help should the student ever need it. Initially, Yoon-sung was confused by Kim Hee-chun's actions, unsure of his true intentions. Even if his behavior wasn't entirely sincere, there were other reasons for Yoon-sung's curiosity. Kim Hee-chun had been having an affair with the English teacher, which would soon become the biggest threat to his career. However, this situation could actually turn into an opportunity for him. Kim Hee-chun and Yoon-sung struck a deal based on their shared promises. Yoon-sung wished his teacher a happy holiday, but from that moment onward, he resolved to crush Kim Hee-chun's happiness at any cost. Once Yoon-sung's plan came to fruition, the teacher's life would become filled with thorns, completely different from anything he'd ever experienced before. That evening, Kim Seol was waiting for Yoon-sung at the training ground, and together they headed to the martial arts gym. Yoon-sung asked, "Coach, if you were to rate the skill level of me and Jinwoo, would he rank below level 4? Which is a professional fighter?" The coach responded, "SIU's striking technique is flawless, but his biggest weakness is his grappling. His grappling technique isn't on par with his striking skills. While he can handle amateur fighters well, competing at a professional level might be too much for him. But Yoon-sung, on the other hand, is different. He could compete in professional matches immediately. He has great judgment and courage, and he can handle both striking and grappling effectively. However, Yoon-sung is only capable of dealing with lower-level fighters right now. His potential is huge, but he hasn't fully matured yet." Yoon-sung's opponent was at his peak, like a fighter who trained rigorously every day. A spinning kick left the young opponent unable to dodge in time. Yun-sung will never be able to beat fighters like them, the coach noted. The physical difference is too great, and he will surely lose. Yun-sung asked the coach for help. Please help make me and Jean stronger, he said. At 5 a.m., both Yun-sung and Isayu were out running, appearing more dedicated than anyone else. After that, Yun-sung began lifting weights. Together with his training partner, they focused on building strength. After completing his weightlifting session, Yun-sung did push-ups. Not just regular push-ups, but with weights strapped to his waist to increase resistance. Next came leg exercises. Though both of them were drenched in sweat, they showed no signs of stopping. Their coach pushed them to their limits, putting them on an intense training regimen. It's not just about the workout, the coach said. Your diet is just as important. You must finish everything I give you. With that, the coach placed 3 portions of chicken breast and vegetables in front of them. Though it looked healthy, it was tough to eat. Yun-sung had reached his physical limit. On one particularly tough day, he vomited, his face hanging over the toilet, questioning whether he had overworked himself. Yun-sung was training 3 times a day, eating 5 meals daily. After one grueling session, he fainted. He wondered if it was because he had forced himself to finish all the food. Wiping his face, he realized his entire body was drenched in cold sweat, and waves of pain coursed through him. Despite this, the thought of giving up never crossed his mind. Yun-sung feared that if his coach found out about his condition, he would reduce the intensity of the training. But he felt that he was making progress and couldn't stop now. Clutching his stomach in pain, Yun-sung reflected on the fact that he still couldn't defeat someone like Choi Tae-jin, who was only a level B fighter. He consoled himself, thinking, "This is just the beginning. I had to keep going." Images of the members of Hong Kim Vin flashed through his mind. He knew he would soon have the chance to crush them. He couldn't afford to miss this opportunity due to his own weakness. Memories of his previous life as a vegetative patient, filled with suffering, came rushing back, fueling his determination. Remember all the tragedies you went through. He reminded himself, as painful memories flooded his thoughts, serving as motivation. Then he thought of his family, the most powerful motivation of all. Remember the time you desperately begged for another chance. With a sinister smile, Yun-sung whispered to himself, if I can get my revenge, if I can tear down those bastards with my own hands, I don't care if I die. Soo, Yun-sung's training partner, had witnessed all of Yun-sung's physical struggles. Worried for his friend, Soo felt compelled to intervene. We have to stop Yun-sung, he thought. This will only get worse. Soo sought out their coach, trying to convince him. I know what's happening, but he's not going to stop, even if it destroys him, Soo said. His voice filled with concern. The coach explained his stance, as a trainer, I would never push someone to this point, but my decision remains the same. Soo asked what he meant by that. I don't know what has driven Yun-sung to this point, but I can sense that he won't stop, ever. Even if he collapses in a sparring match, there's something in his spirit that won't allow him to give up. Turning to face Soo, the coach's tone became stern. If I stop him, he'll just find someone else to push him harder. And that could be even more dangerous. So, it's better that I handle this myself. The coach continued, in the end, let him make his own decisions. I'm no one to decide for him. Images of Yun-sung tirelessly training kept flashing through the coach's mind. By the 5th week of the training camp, Yun-sung delivered a powerful straight punch to the heavy bag. His progress was evident. Then came a sharp right hook aimed at the ribs. One could imagine that if a person were hit with that, several ribs would likely break. Yun-sung bent his knees, spread his shoulders, and moved forward. Another straight left punch landed with a sharp sound. He stopped, looked at his coach, and asked, Coach, what do you think of me now? The coach assessed him, replying, your muscles are developing very fast, so they haven't fully matured yet. But I believe you're ready to become a professional fighter. Yun-sung responded mechanically, is that so? Then he posed a challenge, what if you were my opponent? The coach chuckled and said, come here, kid. He invited Yun-sung to spar. Both of them put on gloves and touched fists, showing mutual respect. Don't go easy on me, Yun-sung said. The coach grinned, of course not. Yun-sung began moving left and right, trying to mislead the coach. Seeing his speed, the coach complimented him, your reaction time is impressive. A powerful punch came at Yun-sung, but he blocked it with his arm, showing intense focus. However, the coach noticed a flaw in Yun-sung's defense. With sharp determination in his eyes, the coach swept his right leg toward Yun-sung's left leg, causing him to lose balance and opening him up for attack. To the coach, the fight was far from over. Even though Yun-sung had improved, the coach could still deal with him easily. Yun Sung, perhaps too confident, had fallen into a trap and left an opening. The coach took advantage, landing a solid right hook to Yun Sung's face. Reflecting on Yun Sung's overconfidence, the coach thought, he needs to learn where he stands. Yun Sung, using the momentum, ducked and threw a punch at the coach's stomach. The coach still believed he wouldn't let Yun Sung do anything reckless. As the coach retreated, Yun Sung relentlessly closed the distance. Both of them continued to size each other up. Yun Sung studied every movement of the coach, his resolve unwavering. He kept reminding himself, no matter what happens, I must create an opportunity. I can't afford to miss a single one. Yun Sung threw a left jab, measuring the distance between himself and his opponent. He kept reassuring himself, no matter who I face or what condition I'm in, I have to win at all costs. The coach blocked the punch with his right hand. Yun Sung thought to himself, my opponent is too strong, or maybe there are too many people. If I keep making excuses like this, I won't get anywhere. The coach saw an opportunity to strike, retracting slightly and preparing for a counter. He threw a straight punch aimed at Yun Sung's face, but Yun Sung didn't react in time. A right hook followed, catching the coach off guard as it connected with his chin, sending his head snapping backward. Despite this, the coach wasn't hurt. In fact, he smiled and said to Yun Sung, not bad, but you know. Before finishing his sentence, the coach landed a powerful right hook to Yun Sung's chin. Yun Sung felt a dizzying sensation as his mouth twisted. Unable to respond, and his eyes rolled back. The coach remained in a defensive stance, his imposing presence like that of a giant black bear. He said, you've improved, but there are still limits you haven't surpassed. As Yun Sung's consciousness faded, all he could see was the towering figure of his coach standing over him. Faint, distant sounds reached his ears, someone was speaking, though it was unclear. Gradually, the voice became clearer, turning into someone calling his name, Yun Sung. Regaining consciousness, Yun Sung opened his eyes to see Su shaking him awake. Yun Sung, are you okay? Rubbing his eyes, Yun Sung responded as Su reassured him, don't worry, you're not weak, it's just that the coach is a monster. He's a champion, it's no coincidence he has that title. You landed so many hits on him, yet he still won. You did really well. Panting heavily as if struggling to breathe, Yun Sung suddenly smiled, which startled Su. What, why are you smiling, have you gone crazy, or did you get hit so hard you've lost it? Still smiling, Yun Sung replied, Su, this was my first time fighting the coach. I didn't even land a clean hit. In his mind, Yun Sung recalled the beginning of the match, where he was utterly overwhelmed. Sitting up, he looked into the distance and said, today was different. Yes, I lost again, but this time the coach took me seriously. Yun Sung, with a serious tone, said, I have one more year. I can still get stronger. The scene shifts to a skyscraper under construction. The concrete surface was dry but not yet painted. The moonlight shimmered in the night sky, casting a glow over the blue tarp covering the top floors of the building. What's going on? Someone seemed to be talking to Gochan Bom in the distance. His voice had a fearful tone. I don't even dare to talk to him, the voice said. Gochan Bom clenched his teeth as he saw Yun Sung, bruised and battered. His expression was one of horror, mouth agape. Yun Sung smiled and replied, I've just been training hard. Gochan Bom pulled out a mustard yellow envelope and said, that house you asked me to sell, it finally sold. What do you need it for? He sat with one leg crossed over the other, his back slightly slouched and resting his chin on his hand. Across from him sat Yun Sung, the two separated by the flickering blue flames from a barrel fire. There were very few people around, making the idea of building a large shopping center in such an area seem illogical, or perhaps a factory. Yet, there were far better places to build factories. Gochan Bom, curious about Yun Sung's intentions, tried to probe. What exactly is your plan? Yun Sung thought of a role that might earn Gochan Bom's trust. He knew he'd have to betray someone important to convince him. Finally, he said, Gochan Bom. The information I have was obtained from Congressman Kim Pan-ho. The scene cut to Gochan Bom's office, where someone was stamping the buyer's name on the contract. You made the right call, Yun Sung thought. Gochan Bom had initially been unsure if the property would sell. While it was valued at only 500,000 won per square meter, Gochan Bom had deliberately pushed the price to double that. The assistant told the buyer, thank you, CEO. The buyer smiled and thanked the general manager, pleased with the transaction. Back in the conversation, Gochan Bom, visibly sweating, summarized the key points Yun Sung had laid out earlier. A large industrial complex would be built between the cities of Song and Taejung, with a portion of the land set aside for connecting highways. That's right, Yun Sung affirmed. Many people think this is prime real estate. So, we should consider Myeongjin developing villas on this land, around 1,000 pyong in total. Gochon Bom was confused but began to sense something. Don't tell me you're thinking about the old project, are you? Yun Sung responded carefully. The land, valued at 1,000 pyong, had been auctioned off at a value that had skyrocketed more than 2,000% due to ongoing favorable developments. But there was an even more important reason. Gochon Bom, you've seen the cadastral map, haven't you? Yun Sung asked. This 1,000 pyong will take up a portion of land for the road, meaning the development potential will be limited. In Yun Sung's mind, he envisioned a map covered with roadways. However, behind this plot, there's about 20,000 pyong of inland land. Right now, it has little value. But if we purchase this inland property and combine it with the other plot. Yun Sung continued with a serious tone, currently, the land is valued at about 500,000 won per square meter. But it could go up to 2 million won per square meter. Just from acquiring the land, we'd profit 30 billion won. And if Myeongjin constructs buildings on the property, the profits will be unimaginable. Yun Sung smiled. This isn't just a personal achievement for you. It's a chance to show your abilities as the chairman of a construction company. Gochon Bom quickly returned to his office after the conversation with Yun Sung, muttering to himself, I'm just curious, do you know who owns that piece of land? The scene shifted to Yun Sung on his way to school, deep in thought. He reflected on how relentless training would perfect his combat skills. With Gochon Bom's money and Kim Panho's influence, he felt secure but knew it wasn't enough. There was still one problem he couldn't solve on his own. He needed a gang of his own, just like Deng Chansu and PRC Hong Ho. He sighed, thinking, by the time I'm in my second year, I need to be perfect. As Yun Sung reached the school gates, snowflakes melted into the ground, signaling the arrival of spring. It was March, and time to return to school. Overheard in a conversation, someone asked, Hey, did you hear the latest rumor? The scene changed to a first-person perspective, a pair of hands holding a cigarette. The figure was wearing a windbreaker over their uniform, standing in the shadows of the school. There's a second-year student here named Kim Yun Sung, one of them said. I heard he took on Shin Yong-min, the other gasped, Shin Yong-min? Didn't he get sent to juvie? The first one, with long hair, laughed, You really believe that rumor? None of you have ever seen Shin Yong-min fight, have you? That guy's no joke. He's strong, the best I've seen. The long-haired guy continued. But Kim Yun Sung? He's just a nobody. It's all nonsense. While they were talking, a shadowy figure approached, stepping on the cigarette. Put that out, the figure commanded. What the hell are you? One of the students snarled, sizing up the figure before them. The others quickly stepped in, pulling their friend back, nervously apologizing. Despite their efforts to calm him down, Jung Hyukjin resisted, cursing, Who the hell are we scared of? The student next to him whispered frantically, That's Kim Yun Sung. Jung Hyukjin's face turned pale with sweat dripping down his forehead. He bowed his head submissively, his voice trembling, Sorry. I'll put it out right now. The scene shifted to the rooftop of the high school, where Yun Sung leaned against the wall. Across from him were Sue and their gathered group. Yun Sung spoke in a low voice, I've heard that before, there was an agreement to maintain order and prevent bloodshed in Taejun, to protect our territory. But as you all know, I can't stand thugs like Shin Yong-min. He paused, glancing at the group, before continuing, I've already cleaned out the entire Trondheim High School, and I have plans to expand our influence. Sue hesitated, asking. You're not seriously thinking of? Yun Sung cut him off, speaking with resolve, within the next 6 months, I'll turn all the schools in Taejun into Trondheim High Schools. After Yun Sung made his declaration, the room was filled with various reactions, from whispers to loud chatter. It wasn't just one school, it was the entire Taejun. You're digging your own grave, someone remarked to Yun Sung. Behind him, his underlings kept murmuring. Yun Sung, don't underestimate this situation. If you make the first move, Trondheim High School will become the target of everyone in Taejun, another voice warned. Yun Sung started to recall the purpose of his actions. Ordinary high school students were already aware of the logic in factions, mainly because they had learned about the secret system of the Golden Circle. As a result, they would receive help from others when needed. Yun Sung continued to analyze the situation. If I eliminate the Golden Circle completely, it will disappear from Taejun forever. Yun Sung placed a pile of money in front of his underlings. Of course, you don't have to blindly follow me, he said. For every school we take down, I'll give you 500,000 gold. You can split it among yourselves. The one with the best results will get an additional 100,000 as a bonus. Taking a step forward, Yun Sung delivered his final words. So, are you in? A few days after that conversation, the action began. In a first-year classroom at some school, someone said that jerk, Jang Hyukjin, is bullying his classmate. Jang Hyukjin was pushing his classmate's head onto the desk, yelling, "Since yesterday, you've been pissing me off." He glanced back to see a group of students cowering in fear, thinking to himself, what cowards. No one in the class dared to stop him, and he felt triumphant, believing that he had taken control of the entire first year. Just then, someone opened the door and called out, "Hey!" Kim Yun-sung entered with an angry expression and asked, "Did you just hit him?" Surprised, the bully stammered, what? Before Jang Hyukjin could respond, Yun-sung threw a powerful punch right into his face. "Of course it was you," Yun-sung said. The punch hit Jang Hyukjin with full force, sending him flying into the rows of desks. He clutched his chest, groaning in pain. Regaining his composure, he tried to strike back, but missed as Yun-sung had already stepped back to dodge. "Why do you keep messing with me?" he yelled, seizing the moment before Jang Hyukjin could retract his arm. Yun-sung slapped him hard across the face, leaving him dazed and collapsing to the floor. Tears and snot streamed down Jang Hyukjin's face as he thought to himself, "Getting slapped feels like being hit by a truck." At that moment, the teacher walked into the classroom, saying, "All right, class, time to start." However, upon seeing the scene before him, the teacher made an excuse and quickly turned around to leave. "Oh, I forgot the class papers in the staff room. How forgetful of me." Yun-sung walked up to Jang Hyunjin and coldly asked, "Do you know why you're getting beaten up?" Jang Hyunjin stammered, "And no, I don't." Yun-sung stared directly at him and said, "Why do you bully others?" "I don't like getting involved in petty conflicts like this, but..." Yun-sung's voice became firm, "I can't let guys like you, who use violence for no reason, roam free. That's why I'm here, to teach you a lesson." With that, Yun-sung gave him another resounding slap. The bystanders, witnessing their leader being beaten so mercilessly, were filled with fear. They trembled and whispered among themselves, "He got beaten up just for bullying someone? I saw it with my own eyes, it's terrifying. I heard Kim Yun-sung has banned all bullying, but I didn't think it was true." "Did you hear? It seems like Kim Yun-sung is trying to take control of all the schools in Daesun. Anyone interested in following him? I heard he's offering a reward of 100,000 won for good performance." The scene shifts to the rooftop. Sung-ho says to Yun-sung, "Once you start taking over Daesun, you'll have to face dozens of schools. Half of them are just small fry, but the other half, that's the real problem." Among those, Sung-ho mentioned Yoon Hyaman from ICC High School. In Sung-ho's mind, an image of a muscular, strong man with green hair appeared. Sung-ho continued, "He once defeated Shin Yongmin in an amateur fight." Sung-ho took out his phone and asked Yun-sung, "So what's your plan? Are you really planning to wage war? That's not a good idea. Without a legitimate reason, the other schools will crush you." As soon as Sung-ho mentioned that name, Yun-sung realized something. "Thanks to expert Go Changbyum, I learned that Yoon Hyaman from ICT High School is also a mercenary for the Golden Circle." Yun-sung clenched his fist, his whole body radiating hostility. The atmosphere around him turned dark. He's slowly turning Daesung into Gangnam, Yun-sung thought, imagining the darkness engulfing the area. He knew there wasn't much time left. If Gangnam's corrupt reality took root in Daesung, there would be no turning back. Yun-sung raised his phone. Wherever filth appears, victims will follow. Just like light and shadow, those victims. His eyes flashed with anger. Will become a reason. The scene shifts to a teacher's office at Daesun High School. A teacher was standing in front of a student. "Dae-hyun, did you really steal your classmate's money?" The student remained silent. The teacher continued, "Someone said they saw you going through another student's bag." The student stammered, "Teacher." The teacher, feeling helpless, picked up the phone. "All right. I'll call your parents." The student immediately cried out, "Teacher, I'm sorry. I won't do it again." The teacher scratched his head and said, "So, you're admitting it? Why would you do something like this? That's 500,000 won. Return the money to your classmate immediately, and I'll deal with you later." Dae-hyun lowered his head and mumbled, "I lost it." The teacher was taken aback. "What?" His voice became stricter. "Earlier, you said you stole 500,000 won, and now you're telling me you lost it? Do you think I'm a child?" The teacher picked up a long, thick ruler and shouted, "You're beyond help. Lie down so I can give you some punishment." Dae-hyun stood in front of another male student, while a group of classmates watched, sneering. "See, Dae-hyun, why did you go around stealing like that? Didn't your parents teach you anything?" If I hadn't caught you, you would have blamed someone else. The red-haired student, holding a wad of money, looked at Daehyun with contempt. Next time, beg someone to help you because you're too poor. He added, it's because of people like you that our school has a reputation as a gang den. The students around them began to whisper and laugh, treating the situation like a joke. A blonde student chimed in, he's getting better at bullying that idiot. However, Daehyun's thoughts were elsewhere. He knew the real thief was the red-haired boy. He was just a scapegoat. The red-haired boy kicked Daehyun and asked, does it hurt? I heard the homeroom teacher went crazy. Now, take off your pants and show me your butt. Daehyun trembled and pleaded, I can't. Please, I promise I'll behave from now on. The red-haired boy sneered, Daehyun, you've been doing well recently, huh? Do you remember that rainy day back in middle school? You were naked and promised me something. Daehyun looked at him in fear as the boy continued, you promised to listen to me. To do whatever I say. If you don't, I'll lose my mind. Now, take them off. Backed into a corner. Daehyun had no choice but to follow the bully's orders and began removing his pants. The crowd gasped, wow, he's really doing it. The bullies watching from afar seemed to enjoy the spectacle, laughing and praising the red-haired boy, he's so cool. A girl who was with them pretended to cover her eyes, shouting, oh no, my precious eyes. The red-haired boy walked up to Daehyun, touched his face, and whispered, Daehyun, this amount of money isn't enough. Give me more. Daehyun sincerely pleaded, Hongjin, I'm sorry. But I don't have any more money. Hongjin replied, oh really? I see. So, our dear Daehyun doesn't have enough money, huh? As soon as he finished speaking, Hongjin delivered a strong punch to Daehyun's stomach, leaving him gasping for breath in pain. He added, really? I must have asked the wrong person. Daehyun collapsed onto the ground. Hongjin spread his legs apart and continued, all right, I made a mistake. If you don't have money, then I'll just beat you to a pulp. He then turned to his underlings and ordered. Let's go to his mom's candy shop and cause some trouble there, shall we? Daehyun's face turned pale with fear. The image of his mother's shop flashed through his mind. He couldn't take it anymore and screamed, stop. You bastards. Hearing Daehyun's outburst, everyone stopped. Hongjin, with his fist clenched, asked, did you just call me a bastard? Realizing he had said something wrong. Daehyun trembled and stuttered, I'm sorry, Hongjin. I'm sorry. Hongjin sneered, you know, when you say something wrong, you have to pay for it. The world isn't that simple. Before he could finish his sentence, Hongjin was knocked to the ground by a flying kick. Hyunsung had pulled back his leg, it was him who delivered the kick. Daehyun looked up in shock, staring at Hyunsung. The group of bullies following Hongjin was equally stunned. They shouted, who are you? You're not from our school, right? Hyunsung calmly responded, am I? The bullies tried to charge at him, but with swift movements, Hyunsung dodged and quickly took down two of the toughest guys with ease. Maintaining his fighting stance, Hyunsung declared firmly, I'm Daehyun's friend. In the dead of night, soft, heart-wrenching sobs echoed through the room. Daehyun lay curled up in his blanket, trembling. Why did this happen to me? Why am I in this situation? Daehyun's mind was filled with darkness. He thought about whether he should take a knife and kill all of them. But no, he couldn't do that. I've never fought anyone before. What kind of person am I? Daehyun continued to cry, feeling as if he was in hell. Suddenly, the sound of his phone ringing snapped him back to reality. He glanced at the screen, curious about the new notification. Daehyun clicked on the link, and a notification window popped up. We are currently accepting complaints about school violence. Please provide your personal information and email address. Daehyun's computer screen lit up, displaying a website called Fight Against School Violence and Crime, with a bold statement. We promise to get revenge for you. This line grabbed Daehyun's attention. He carefully filled in all the required information on the website, as if placing his hopes on it. The next day, Yunsung arranged to meet Daehyun at a children's park. Did you send that email? Yunsung asked. Daehyun thought to himself, it can't be. That email was real? Yunsung continued, the world is chaotic. Just because you're weak, you have to go through such unreasonable things. He spoke plainly, as if voicing the very thoughts and emotions Daehyun had been feeling. Outsiders will never understand what we're going through. They always say we're just kids who don't understand anything. Daehyun unconsciously repeated Yunsung's words, feeling a deep sense of connection. Yunsung went on, school bullying isn't just a child's prank. The victims suffer psychological trauma for the rest of their lives, while the bullies get away scot-free. As if nothing ever happened. If they hadn't pushed the victims to the brink, maybe things wouldn't have ended up this way. Images of himself kneeling and crying flashed through Daehyun's mind, filling him with resentment. He clenched his fists, imagining pointing a knife at his enemies. Yunsong's voice echoed in his ears, in the end, they always come for us. The more we resist, the more violent they become. Sometimes, in the process of fighting back, the victim becomes the perpetrator of an even more serious crime, not just the bully. He added, it's clear that no matter what you do, once you become a victim of school violence, your life is as good as over. Yunsong handed his phone to Daehyun, saying, victims of school violence usually suffer alone, carrying the burden on their own until they're completely drained both physically and mentally. I'm sick of this hellish society, so I created this social network. Yunsong emphasized, now. Do you want to talk business, Daehyun? Daehyun hesitated, unsure if he should make a deal with Yunsong. But the next day, Hongjin's older brother stormed into Daehyun's classroom, shouting, who's Sung Daehyun? I'm Honghyun, Hongjin's brother. Hongjin was overjoyed, as if he had struck gold. He quickly pointed toward Daehyun, who was sitting by the window. It's him. He then turned to Daehyun, saying, did you think I'd let you off? You worthless failure. Do you even remember who I am? Hongjin approached Daehyun, asking, was it you? Daehyun only looked back at him with eyes full of resentment. Without waiting for a reply, Hongryan, Hongjin's older brother, hit Daehyun on the back of the neck. Did you lose your voice? Say something. He yelled, grabbing Daehyun by the hair. You're dead, you filthy trash. You dared to call your friend here, huh? Daehyun resisted. Why are you hitting me? Hongyun sneered, you dare talk back? Do you think I'm going to just sit here while you beat up my brother? Who's your friend? I'll kill him. Daehyun, no longer afraid, dialed Yunsong's number and said, this is my friend's number. He told me to let him know if you guys show up again. He'll take the call. Hongryan, still arrogant, took the phone. On the other end, Yunsong answered. Hongryan loudly declared, listen here, you little punk. I'm Hongryan, from Gil High School. Did you mess with my brother? Yunsong chuckled and replied, let me make this clear. Your brother beat up my friend first, so I just retaliated. Hongryan hesitated, what the hell are you talking about? Seizing the moment, Yunsong explained, your brother has been bullying Daehyun for the past 4 years, beating him up, stealing money, forcing him to buy snacks from the convenience store, and making him do his homework. Recently, he even made Daehyun strip in front of a girl and humiliate himself. I'm giving you one last chance. If you're a decent brother, tell your brother to apologize for what he's done, and I'll end things here. Hongryan was visibly shocked. He retorted, what do you mean, end things? What are you even talking about? My brother enjoys using that loser as entertainment, so what? Yunsong fired back, so you know your brother's in the wrong, and yet you still cover for him? You're just as scummy. Hongryan's pride and arrogance wouldn't allow him to accept this, and he roared, you trash. Tell me your name and school right now. I'll personally come and send you to hell. Yunsong felt satisfied, they had taken the bait. Why not just set a meeting place directly? He responded, let's go. I'm Kim Yunsong, from Jonin High School. The scene shifts to an overpass in the city. From a distance, Yunsong's group marched forward with determination. The two groups faced off, good versus evil, creating an atmosphere that was both thrilling and terrifying. Hongryan called out, you're Kim Yunsong, right? Yunsong, with courage, replied, that's me. Hongryan said, listen, if I fight you, it won't be just a personal matter anymore. It'll be a war between Gil High School and Jonin High School. So let's settle this peacefully. There's no need for a fight. Yunsong remained silent as Hongryan continued to speak. How about both of you apologize to each other and let's call it even? Yunsong thought for a moment, observing Hongryan's posture. It seemed like he had already done his research on him. Yunsong finally said, apologize to each other? Only your brother needs to apologize. I see through you. You're just trying to save face. Hongryan, visibly angry, responded, what did you just say? The two stared into each other's eyes, waiting for the other to make an important move. Finally, Hongryan, Hongjin's older brother, couldn't hold it in any longer and shouted, apologize now, you idiot. He yelled at his brother. What are you standing there for? Stop this nonsense. Hongryan, holding back his anger, slowly stepped forward and muttered, I'm sorry. Daehyun, however, wasn't ready to let him off so easily. What did you just say? I didn't hear you. Hongryan, now annoyed, shouted, I said I'm sorry. Are you satisfied? Daehyun replied, Hong Ryan, do you know something? Yunsong gave me two choices. As Daehyun spoke, he recalled the agreement from the day before. The first option is that after you promise to never mess with me again, we can end everything here. Given my current situation, this would be the safest option. Daehyun continued, or, I could make you pay for everything you've done, and even more. Yunsong said that if I do, it'll feel incredibly satisfying, but it won't end this miserable relationship. Feeling emboldened, Daehyun raised his voice, can you guess which option I chose? Then, a punch landed squarely on Hong Ryan's face. Daehyun said, I chose the second one. Seeing Yunsong ready to fight, Hong Ryan realized that the punch had come from Yunsong. The powerful blow sent Hong Ryan sprawling to the ground. Brother, he screamed. It was like a signal for an all-out brawl. Everyone rushed at each other, fists flying, and the fight broke out in a frenzy. Without hesitation, they attacked. Kill these bastards, one of the fighters shouted. Bae Sung-ho delivered a punch while yelling loudly, almost like a dancer, 1. He knocked down another opponent, 2. Then, another fell, 3. Finally, he completed his combo by taking down a fourth opponent. Bae Sung-ho recalled the promise Yunsong made earlier. You said 501 per school, right? I'm gonna make a lot this time. Just as someone tried to ambush Bae Sung-ho from behind, Kim Soo leapt in and landed a flying kick. Trying to sneak attack, huh? You must have a death wish. Kim Soo kept launching impressive kicks at his opponents, trying to show off his strength in front of Yunsong, eager to prove that he could be useful in future plans. Kim Soo shouted excitedly, I always have to be by Yunsong's side. So, 500 divided by 15, what's that? He continued. And whoever takes down the most will get an extra 101, right? Yunsong's group was buzzing with excitement over the generous reward, fueling their enthusiasm as they charged fearlessly into their enemies, attacking with full force. The other side began to panic. These lunatics, there's twice as many of us, so why can't we beat them? One member of Yunsong's group was bloodied and battered. As expected, the gang leader, Hong Ryan, had already subdued a few people from Yunsong's side. He thought to himself, I need to call for more help. But then, seeing Yunsong standing right in front of him, he had an even more foolish idea to charge at him. He figured that if he could just defeat Yunsong, the fight would be over. Hong Ryan rushed toward Yunsong, believing his charge symbolized his courage. But before he could even touch Yunsong, a thunderous punch landed squarely on his face. A loud thud echoed, and Hong Ryan was sent flying. Never before had he experienced such humiliation. Blood poured from his nose, and his face was swollen and bruised. As Yunsong approached him, he played a recorded audio clip, informing Hong Ryan that he had fallen into his trap. Hong Ryan stammered, what are you doing? Yunsong coldly replied, all I need is a victim's testimony. And you'll be expelled. But with this evidence, you're finished. Hong Ryan, now desperate, asked, what do you want? Yunsong continued, today is nothing more than a scuffle between students from Geo High. Got it? If any of you leaks what happened today, not only will you be expelled, but you'll also face harsher consequences. Yunsong tightly gripped Hong Ryan's mouth and growled, when I ask a question, you answer. At this point, Yunsong's face was expressionless, cold as a demon. He asked again, is it not painful enough? When I ask, why don't you answer? Unable to suppress his wild instincts, Yunsong grabbed Hong Ryan by the jaw and said chillingly, I told you to answer me. Hearing his brother's screams, Hong Jin and their gang, terrified by Yunsong's brutality, watched in horror. Hong Ryan's eyes rolled back, sweat pouring from his body like rain. His scream echoed like thunder, and his blood stained the dark ground beneath him. Never in his life had Hong Ryan experienced such fear. His eyes turned hollow as he held his mouth tightly, trembling all over. He probably never imagined he'd face a day like this. This situation had gone far beyond simple bullying, it now resembled a violent mob attack. Yunsong walked up to the quivering Hong Ryan, who looked as if he had seen the Grim Reaper. With the demeanor of a victor, Yunsong coldly said, you made me wait a long time. The next day, Daehyun ran into two upperclassmen in the school hallway. One of them, out of habit, turned back and cursed, you little piece of trash. He glared at Daehyun as if he wanted to devour him. Instinctively, Daehyun bowed his head and apologized, having been beaten countless times for no reason. But what the bullies saw was not Daehyun, they saw the menacing face of Yunsong. Panicked, they yelled, no, we're sorry. Then they quickly turned and ran off, shouting, we'll be going now. Daehyun, still in shock, wondered why Hong Ryan's gang was suddenly apologizing to him. After all that had happened, Daehyun felt as though the world had changed. He sighed with emotion, that's right. School should be peaceful like this. Then he remembered Yunsong and thought, it's time to fulfill my promise. Daehyun didn't know what he had done, but soon after, countless reactions and discussions erupted. Is this real? There's even evidence, someone exclaimed. I thought he was making things up, so I asked some friends from Gil High School. Turns out, it's true. Daehyun had posted evidence of the bullying on the social network created by Yunsong, and the news had spread everywhere. I'm a sophomore at Gil High School. A few days ago, I saw a post on this site wanting to help address the issue of school violence. Do you want the people who ruined your life to pay for what they've done? One email is all it takes, and everything you wish for will come true. The scene shifts to three men, who look like gang members, smoking at some school. One of them spoke, "We're not going to get beaten up, right?" The guy in the green hoodie replied. "What nonsense are you talking about? What do we have to do with John Inhai?" The guy in the beige jacket laughed and sneered, "Stop being such a coward. If that guy shows up, I'll smash his face in." Just as he finished speaking, a mysterious young man wearing a black jacket and a hood appeared, calling his name. The guy in the beige jacket flinched and cursed out of habit, "Damn, you scared me. Do you even know who I am?" The mysterious young man calmly replied, "I know exactly who you are. The informant told me everything about you." At this point, it was clear the young man was John Sung. He added, "Not just bullying and ostracism, but extortion and theft too." Quite the list of crimes, huh? Hearing his misdeeds laid bare, it felt as if they were being judged by a higher power. The veins on the leader's neck bulged in rage as he clenched his fists. The guy in the beige jacket, who was the leader, gave a hand signal. And his gang charged forward like hunting leopards, ready for a fight to the death. He roared, "You bastard. What do you want?" John Sung slowly pulled down his hood, revealing his sharp, cold eyes that sent chills through the gang members. "You guys really live up to your reputation as scum," John Sung said coldly. Then, the sound of punches and kicks filled the air. It was clear who the victor was and who was left in agony. John Sung had everyone kneel on the ground with their hands raised above their heads. He squatted down, lit a cigarette, and looked at the beaten gang members, saying, "Raise your hands and take a good look at them." Meanwhile, Bae Sung-ho was looking at his phone, seemingly engrossed in something. More specifically, he was reading Daehyun's post and the comments it had gathered. The social media posts from John Sung and Daehyun had become incredibly popular. Even Kim Soo, who was busy dealing with the gang leader, Lee and Jonhyo, became curious and clicked to check the post. Sitting on top of the defeated gang members, he casually scrolled through the comments. The overwhelming engagement had led to a flood of emails reporting wrongdoings. The gang leader groaned in pain, and Kim Soo, feeling frustrated, glared at him. "So, you enjoy burning kids with cigarettes and beating them up, huh?" Kim Soo listed his crimes in one breath, then delivered a punch to the gang leader's face, disfiguring it. Kim Soo thought to himself, "This is why we understand John Sung." After withdrawing his fist, Kim Soo calmly said to the gang leader, "Trash like you doesn't deserve to live a normal life, and we'll make sure of that." The scene shifts to a third-year journalism and media class, where a student was being beaten up in the classroom. Another student asked someone named Ha Emin, "What do you plan to do about Kim Yun-sun from John in high school?" The student holding the money replied, "Looking at what he's been up to, he's bound to cause us some trouble." Ha Emin, a man with short blue hair, sat with his legs crossed and his hands behind his head, answering his friend. Shin Young-min was also a tough guy, but why is he stirring up trouble all over Daesan instead of staying in Tronan? He then instructed one of his underlings to call Hong Ryan and tell him to come immediately. "He and I are sort of friends, I can't just sit back and do nothing." And so, Hong Ryan was summoned to the gym. Ha Emin and his group gathered, demanding an update on the situation. They were discussing how people were demanding justice online and using the victim's voice to claim it. Ha Emin, smoking a cigarette, stroked his chin and said, "Back when I was like you, at least I didn't bully the weak. Our poor Hong Ryan must have gone through a lot." He continued his mockery, "Do you think that lunatic will keep targeting me forever?" Hong Ryan, trembling, responded, "He doesn't look like he'll let anyone off." Ha Emin slowly rose from his seat, walked over to Hong Ryan, and said, "Well then, I guess I'll have to make a move before I get hit. Do me a favor, will you?" Hong Ryan, confused, asked, "What do you want me to do?" Ha Emin calmly replied, "Report to the teachers that you're being bullied."